What's up, everyone? Here we are. Look at that. Midday show for some reason. I wonder why we're all here. Is there something happening in the Canucks world? Welcome to Nothing is Perfect. I'm Russell Holiday, and today, for the first time in the offseason, our very first offseason stream, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, we got something to talk about because the Vancouver Canucks have made a trade. For everyone who doesn't know already, the Vancouver Canucks have acquired Evander Kane, Vancouver native, from the Edmonton Oilers for a 4th round 2025 draft pick. So that's this year. Interestingly, this is the same draft pick that the Canucks received when they traded Vasily Podkolzin to the Oilers last year. So essentially, if you do the connection, the Canucks traded Vasily Podkolzin. Oh, look at this. Look at the Calder Cup floating around behind me. Vasily Podkolzin for Evander Kane. So how do we feel about that? Because essentially, if you were to redo these trades and have them lined up, it is Evander Kane straight up for Vasily Podkolzin. So, what are we going to do today? We're going to talk about the trade that you can see beside me here. And we're going to also bring on Dustin. So we're going to do the Rusty and Dusty sideshow. So we're going to go through and talk about everything. We're going to talk about why this sucks. We're going to talk about why it's a good thing. I know it might be hard to talk about why it's a good thing. We're also going to go through some of the best memes I've seen on Reddit today because I want to get Dustin's opinion on the memes that we're seeing. And then as well, we are going to go through and talk about the salary cap ramifications of this for the Canucks. And then finally, one other piece of news that nobody isn't talking about yet that Dustin's going to let you guys know about. Some news about Mr. Manny Malhotra, the Abbotsford Canucks Calder Cup winning coach in his first year. So there's going to be a lot to talk about. Let's quickly, I didn't say it, but let's quickly say hello because there's some people in chat here. Big Hog was here first, said, yo, and then Major Minor's like, oh no. And then Zach Manali says, oh, and then Dick Large is like, next a Canucks goalie is going to Edmonton exchange for the Worm, and then Bedard will never sign in Vancouver. I hope not. I hope we don't trade them a goalie. And then Calvin 99 Charlie's like, why? And he's crying. Don't be sad, Calvin. People's first is here. Who do we trade for the Vancouver Canucks? The Vancouver Canucks have received Evander Kane. So why don't we just bring it up here for you kids? There he is, Evander Kane. As you can see, he is a Vancouver, British Columbia native, so he is a hometown guy coming back. He was drafted all the way back in 2000. Let me make this a little bigger for you. All the way back in 2009 by Atlanta, so a team that doesn't even exist anymore. But he did move with the franchise to Winnipeg. And there was some incidents there, which we can talk about later with Dustin. Career playoff points. He's got 97 career games played. He's got 55 points. Yeah. Interesting. We did mention he did start his junior career in BC. So he played for the Vancouver Giants, played for them in the Memorial Cup, and then was drafted by Atlanta. And then obviously they became the Winnipeg Jets. This is when he went over to Russia to play for a little bit. I believe this was, during the lockout maybe? Or maybe that's when he got kicked out of the league for gambling. And then he was in Buffalo for a little bit, San Jose, and then he was in Edmonton. And then those are the years that he spent in Edmonton. And then playoff-wise, let's have a quick look at those two. As I mentioned, he did play in the Memorial Cup for the Vancouver Giants. He only played the 2 games there. But he did play the last 4 seasons for the Oilers, and we'll talk a little bit about those stats because he did have about, end up being like 55 points in 60-something games in the playoffs for the Oilers, so bit of a positive there. All right, back to the bar. Hachiko, terrible decision. Hi, Russell, I think that's a big mistake, so Carol doesn't like it. I never liked the guy. What are your thoughts on this? You're going to find all about that as we go through it with Dustin here. Avro says, we only traded a 4th pick. True. So welcome to the stream, Avro. Am I pronouncing that right? Thank you for being here. Steven is here, so it's really a thing. He's coming to Vancouver. Yep. This is an effing joke, says Connor Cahill, and an unfunny one at that. What were they thinking? Front office has been in full panic mode since the season ended. Dumb moves, says Pink Sunglasses. Welcome back, Jacob. Connor Cahill. We've just taken on Ryan Reeves of the West. Dustin Childs, great trade. What are you guys talking about? So Dustin Childs likes it. See, we got some positivity in chat. DJ Malone, great. Let's move. Let's keep moving decks chairs on the Titanic. DJ Malone. I love the picture too. San Francisco fan. Me too. Go 49ers. Connor Gale. Think he's a tough nut, but appears when it really gets tough. Yo, says Big Hog. Jamming says get better at killing them power plays because this guy takes some stupid penalties. Luckily, the Canucks do have a pretty good power play. So welcome, Jamming. Hachiko, we should have just brought back JT Miller. He'd be a little bit more expensive. Arch the Third is just like Arch 13th is just in pain right now. Riley Fraser, I don't love it, but I don't hate it either. Project says Pettersson is gonna love him. Yeah, he might actually play with Pettersson. Vanish. Morning, fellas. Yeah, I'm happy with Kane coming over. If he meshes with the guys here, we could see a blue and green Darnell Nurse. I love it. Andy's from Vancouver. Yep, true. K. Cameron, not super happy with this trade. Hockey Card House. I feel like it's a good player but if he finds a way to figure himself out in the locker room. Evander Kane 91. Evander Kane is coming home where he belongs. Look at that. Evan. And then there's emphasis on Van there. Nice to see a B. Sup, y'all. Aaron Cassie. By all accounts, he's shaken his locker room cancer and matured a bit. Very good to hear. Aiden Kelly. True. And then Newstead Visuals. I like the move. We need more grit on this team. Okay. So we've chatted a little bit about what happened today. Evander Kane became a member of the Vancouver Canucks. So let's go ahead and bring on the Silver Fox, Mr. Dustin Boydell, because he surely has some things that he wants to say about this. So let's get him on the line. Oh, there's his face. That's good. It's always a good start when I can see his face in the waiting room there. Alrighty then. Okay, without further ado, the man, the myth, the legend, Dustin Boydell. Hey, buddy.
What's going on, man?
Oh, same old, same old.
No talk.
First day of the offseason, and the Vancouver Canucks front office are making things interesting. So,
of course, we're on to talk about the Calder Cup celebration happening on a Thursday night at 5:30 p.m. inside the Abbotsford Center. No parade or nothing, but
hey,
I wanted cram inside there.
Even that, I wanted to go. I was like, oh, cool, they're doing it. And then a 5:30 in Abbotsford, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll be able to make that when I work a day job.
Yeah, it's like, okay, fair enough.
Oh man,
yeah, right. That's the big news, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Vancouver or the Abbotsford Canucks are celebrating the Calder Cup in celebration on Thursday. So if you do want, the tickets are available. I think they're only $5, so not bad. Not bad if you want to go and see that. The Calder Cup in person. There were people waiting actually at the stadium yesterday. Saw a bunch of videos yesterday, so that was cool to see. All the boys handed out autographs and stuff like that.
Yeah. But in typical Canucks fashion, we cannot have nice things.
Okay, let's start off really, really quickly with the first talking point. Why does this trade suck?
For starters, you're helping out a division rival cap dump by taking on $5.125 million in a cap hit that you could be using on July 1st. And yes, not a great free agent class, but money is money going into July 1st. You're taking on a guy who missed all 82 games of the regular season last year.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he came back in the playoffs, had 12 points, but is that really enough to warrant taking this much of a risk on a player that has had off-ice issues, locker room issues? And granted, most of the Edmonton analysts and stuff have said he's stayed out of trouble ever since joining the Oilers. However, it's a huge risk to take on a guy who has never played all 82 games in a NHL season. He's now 33 years old, so that tells me he has been injury prone, is a problem. He's never cracked the 30 goal mark. He's only made it above 20 he's made it above 20 quite a few times, which is, good production in the NHL at this day and age. But to take a risk after the season the Canucks have had with the turmoil and uncertainty, it just seems like everything has been panic, panic, panic. How do we make Quinn Hughes happy? And I get it. He is the cornerstone to this franchise winning a championship. But there are 22 other guys on the roster that you need to be concerned about. You cannot hyper focus on one player just because he's the best player this organization all around has ever seen. Do we want him here for his entire career? Yes. Is making panic moves and putting band-aids on a situation the right way to go? How'd that work out last year? The offseason moves that Allvin made last year ended up blowing up in his face. Every free agent he signed was traded before the deadline even came about. Daniel Sprong, Vincent Desharnais, like
Heinen.
Danton Heinen. Like, this is just.
Hey, we still have Forbort. We still have Forbort.
Yes. So he got one right. But like, this is the honeymoon with Allvin is abruptly ending. For all the great moves he made in the first 2 years, it is rapidly going the other way. The panic hiring of Adam Foote as a coach while your AHL team is going through the run of a lifetime, and now has won the Calder Cup. Just all of the timing for taking a risk like this is just horrible. And it's a big maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Does he check a lot of the boxes that the Canucks need? Absolutely. Which is, we could maybe talk about some of the pros.
We're not moving on to that yet because I still have things I want to say about why this sucks.
No, exactly. But there's
don't forget about his untimely penalties, right? Like, how many times do we see, even in this last playoff run, especially against Florida, where he would do something stupid, and everyone talked about it. He was trying to play Florida Panthers hockey, but that's what got Edmonton into trouble against Florida. And Evander Kane is known for taking penalties at untimely times, which is something that we don't need. So yeah, I'll put that. And then the other aspect is obviously this 4th round pick they traded for him was the same 4th round pick they got for Vasily Podkolzin. So then if you reframe the question, would you trade Vasily Podkolzin straight up for Evander Kane?
Absolutely not. You're trading a young up-and-coming winger who hasn't even had a chance to prove himself really at the NHL level for a guy who's on an expiring contract, 33 years old, has never really shown any longevity and ability to play the entire season. You watched him even in the series the Canucks played in the playoffs against Edmonton not very long ago, him taking a lot of stupid penalties and putting his team behind shorthanded, and it's been a career thing for him. He's been suspended numerous times, not just for off-ice stuff, but on-ice issues. Like, I just think it's a big risk. It's the buy low crap that we've kind of fallen into lately as Canucks organization. You look at other expiring contracts next season, and there's people like Alex Tuck out there in Buffalo on an expiring contract next season. He's making $4.75. He got 34 goals this year in a really bad Buffalo team, and for all intents and purposes, needs a change of scenery. You can't tell me that you couldn't have made some sort of deal with Buffalo, whether it's after the draft or at the draft, to get Alex Tuck out of there, who basically is the same profile, is 4 years younger, and has much more opportunity to blossom into someone you want to give another contract to. Like, this is 1 year of Kane. Best case scenario, he gets 30 goals, and then you're stuck having to give him a raise and putting yourself back into cap hell, which you have tried to work so hard to get out of. It just all seems like a completely boneheaded move.
I guess the last thing I'll say about why this sucks, and I wrote a list, and you hit most of them, but the one that you didn't hit was this essentially means, for all you Boeser fans, Brock Boeser is no longer going to be, there is no way that the Vancouver Canucks can now get Brock Boeser on this team. And so for anyone who was hoping, crossing their fingers, that Prince Charming was coming back home, it sounds like he might be going home to Minnesota or something like that, because with this salary and Evander Kane on this team, he is essentially replacing Brock Besser.
This is a panic move that didn't need to happen until after July 1st. Because I guarantee you the other teams that were in on Evander Kane may have overpaid for a guy who might not even stay in the lineup the whole season next year. I would have gladly let other teams take that risk. I just think there may have been better deals to make down the road. And you know, it's just the same thing we talked about with jumping the gun on coaching. You can't panic. You have to let everything play out. You have to get to the draft and see what people are willing to give up to move up in the draft or might want to move down in the draft because their pick is gone and they don't want their pick anymore. Like, all sorts of things can happen. This trade didn't need to happen right now. It could have happened after the draft. It could have happened after July 1st when you don't get me wrong. It's been pretty clear that no free agents want to sign in Vancouver, whether that is the turmoil that the organization is going through right now, the fact that the Canadian dollar is garbage, so no one wants to come up here and pay a bunch of income taxes and and the cost of living is crazy, so to get a place in Vancouver is nuts. So with what's going on in the States right now and them being able to sign in no tax states and make more money, then absolutely, they're going to do that. I mean, that's just an agent doing his job. The job of the Vancouver Canucks GM is to find a way to persuade the agents and the players on the day they're actually allowed to talk to them, i.e. July 1st, to try and sign here. You don't wave the white flag a week before free agency starts. That's just showing weakness right out of the gate. And absolutely now no one is going to come here.
So I lied when I said that the last thing we were going to talk about why this sucked, but I actually have a couple of graphics that I pulled up here of Evander Kane's work. So you got Evander Kane's scorecard, which is put out by data from Cap Friendly, coming out from Patrick Bacon, which is awesome. His name is Bacon. But as you can see, this big fat number right here in the middle, means he is in the bottom 2% of everyone in the regular season. And you're like, okay, he had some injury problems, you know. Sometimes we give the benefit of doubt. Sometimes injuries can put a guy back. Let's move on to the next one. This is, you can't really see this because it's so tiny. But Evander Kane was ranked dead last out of all the forwards in the Stanley Cup Finals. You can see him all the way at the very bottom here. He was the absolute worst forward in the Stanley Cup Finals this year. So regardless of how he played in the first 3 rounds of the playoffs, which he did actually play really well, when it came to the Stanley Cup Finals, he absolutely fell off a cliff. So those are 2 more reasons why this trade sucks. Okay, Dustin, now comes the hard part.
Your tone went off a cliff there. It was just so funny.
Okay, this was all easy, right? It was easy. We've heard about the incident with and I was thinking too, like, maybe the enemy of my enemy is my friend, right? Because Dustin Byfuglien hated Evander Kane and we hated Dustin Byfuglien. So maybe that means that we will love Evander Kane. So that's what I'm hoping. So that's kind of where I'm going to transition over to why this rocks. So why is this a good thing, Dustin, for the Vancouver Canucks to have Evander Kane as a member of the team?
He does stand up for his teammates. From first line to fourth line, he is one of those guys that when he puts the jersey on, he plays for that jersey. But unfortunately, he plays for the guy in the jersey, which is even more so, which makes him a little selfish. And that comes along with taking the bad penalties and things. He gets hyper focused, almost goes overboard when it comes to like needing to play to another level. However, there is that possibility that this type of player does mesh pretty well with the skill set of one Elias Pettersson, who has not had the ability to play with the freedom of having a winger that can kind of protect him out there when it comes to the physical side of the game. And having Evander Kane on a line with Pettersson could free him up to get a little more open ice and, find Kane with some passes, down the middle where Kane is willing to go to the dirty areas in front of the net. There probably similar off-ice individuals in the sense that Evander Kane's kind of into the high-priced, kind of luxury lifestyle, and Pedersen is into, high fashion and kind of like the electronic music world, and I'm sure like Evander Kane's into the music world as well. And they're both kind of lone wolf guys who could maybe kind of find a connection in that sense of maybe they're a little misunderstood by their fan bases in the sense that they try to keep to themselves. Evander Kane obviously hasn't, given the controversies, but there is that off chance that they go off. But then again, you're stuck with the 33-year-old or 34-year-old when his contract expires.
Right.
That now just had a career year, right?
But that's the positive being that it is why this rocks. It's only a 1-year deal. So that's one of the ones I had down, was that despite the fact that he is 33, it is only a 1-year deal. It is $5.125 million or whatever it was. But at the end of this year, the thing is he's done, right? If he plays well, you re-sign him probably for even less, which is a possibility, by the way, not to, And then, but the other aspect is, let's say the Canucks absolutely tank again, which we all, cross yourself and all that, cross your fingers. If he does end up getting out there and the Canucks play really terribly and are not going to make the playoffs, he's a trade chip too, because teams will be looking for a guy like Evander Kane going on a long playoff run.
Exactly. And that is another positive, is the 1-year deal. Don't have to, it's not like when they sign guys to like 3-4 year no movement clause deals. This one's a relatively low risk. He does check a lot of the boxes of what the Canucks were missing in the sense of some size and more grit in the top six.
6'2", 218 pounds.
Yep. And I mean, they're going to be a difficult forward group to play against now that you have someone like Evander Kane, Sherwood, Joshua. If they can find a way to get Sammy Blais under contract and throw him on a fourth line and tell him to hit anything that moves, he also, for everything he showed in the last half of the Abbotsford season, is ready to make the jump back to the NHL, whether that be in a fourth line role or he pushes himself to outperform and push his ceiling above into possibly a low top six role, right? So I struggled to find the positives, but there is some things that we can look at and be like, okay, yes, there is the possibility this could work, but then if it does, then what do you do? That's the biggest problem with the positives. Then they bring up a whole bunch of questions as to what happens if he does have success. The whole thing that the Canucks have preached was, getting younger and rebuilding with the core they have. And now you've brought in a guy who in a room that's kind of lost for leadership is going to have a lot of a voice, in my opinion, at 33. And you just got rid of one guy who talked too much. And you're bringing in another guy who could potentially send the room into a tailspin. So
I think the thing is, though, Dustin, is the media and the teammates all in Edmonton for the last 4 years, all they have is praise for Evander Kane. And that's the thing, is my personal experience. I actually served Evander Kane years ago. We're talking like very early in his career. I used to run a restaurant out in Vancouver. We had Evander Kane and his family come in, and he was awful. His family was lovely, which was great. But the way I described it to my wife today was like, he sat in the corner of the table, his arms crossed like a toddler, right? He was a little toddler at the table. And my wife thought I was literally saying, oh, I served him when he was a literal toddler. I'm going, no. He was playing in the NHL at the time, but he was acting like a toddler. So my personal interaction with him in the very brief moment, obviously, was not a great one. However, now I was watching, all over the internet today, hearing all the people talking about him and his time in Edmonton. He spent time, did tons of work with charities. And we're a team, right? We're all about second chances, right? Like, and you have to be, because Evander Kane might be getting a third or fourth or fifth chance, at this point. But so far, all the stuff that's been coming out about him for his time, at least in Edmonton, has been just positive, positive, positive.
Yeah, I mean, and what else are they going to say, right?
Mhm.
Like everyone always goes on and says the right things. One thing that raised a bit of a red flag to me, though, was Bob Stauffer, one of the lead Oilers analysts, was on with Donnie and Dolly this morning. And first thing he talked about with Evander Kane wasn't about his hockey skill or his presence on the ice or in the locker room or anything. He talked about how good of a hockey analyst he's going to be behind a desk when he retires.
Hmm.
And to me, that just seems like he's a guy who's not fully invested in playing hockey. He talked about how he's going to be just like PK Subban and how he's this charismatic individual who's really smart when it comes to the game. And he's a really smart guy. And it's like, are we talking about the same Evander Kane? Because we know about the off ice stuff, we know his personality, and that to me was like, okay, he's going to be a great analyst. What about his hockey play? And it's like, no one's complained about Evander Kane, is basically what he said. He didn't really say much about people raving about him as a teammate. But he did back up that he has been heavily involved with charities
Mhm.
and the indigenous community. Um, is it to try and rebuild a reputation, or is it genuine care for the community
Mhm.
and genuinely changing as a person? We won't know until we maybe get more coverage of him in Vancouver, which obviously he's going to be under the microscope.
I mean, he's one of those guys, right? You hate to play against him. You might love to have him on his team. And that I watched the same interview on Donnie Dollar with Bob Stauffer from he's the play-by-play guy out there in Edmonton. And he said, yeah, everyone had the same reaction in Edmonton. They're like, why the heck are we signing this goon? And then all of a sudden, a couple months into his stay in Edmonton, and he had become quite a fan favorite out there. So that's got to be a good sign. And then with regards to Edmonton as well, Edmonton did not want to trade Evander Kane. So that's, I'm putting it as a positive, right? Because yes, we did help them out.
Mhm.
But having said that, if it weren't for the salary cap, there was no way they're going to be trading Evander Kane. They loved him. They did not want to trade him. And because of the upcoming contract for Evan Bouchard and obviously Connor McDavid, they needed to get some cap space clear. And we did help them out with that. But they also, the other aspect of him being traded to Vancouver from Edmonton, one, they didn't want to trade him. Two, he had a modified no trade clause. So he got to decide. And that's one thing that he said, and that has come out already. He said to Edmonton, like, I want to go to Vancouver. I want to go home. I want to be close to my family. And those are, I mean, he's saying all the right things at least. And so those are two other things that I think were positives why this is a good trade for the Canucks.
For sure. I mean, you have to be cautiously optimistic.
Mhm.
If you're a Canucks fan, you got to look at the positives and dig and be like, okay, yes, when he's on the ice, purely looking at him as a hockey player, incredible pickup for like relatively low risk. It's just when you start to tack on the what ifs and the age factor and the injury prone, it's just that's where it's like, okay, is this someone you really wanted to bring in for a rookie head coach to deal with?
Mhm.
When his job is going to be hard enough after the season that just happened. I just think there were likely better options out there. Plus, like gritty six guys, I look at what Linus Karlsson kind of did in this playoff series and the
Mhm.
way that Malhotra has kind of morphed him into a similar player style of Evander Kane. Yeah, his dad's doesn't own a boxing gym, and he doesn't really throw fists very often, but he doesn't back away, and he's in there pushing and shoving, protecting teammates as well. So, I think there were maybe some cheaper what ifs they could have tried with more potential upside.
Mhm.
However, I understand the move in the sense of like trying to show Quinn they're serious about getting tougher.
Mhm.
And this isn't just about protecting Pedersen, right? Like Evander will be out there protecting Quinn Hughes as well. If anyone takes a run at Quinn and Kane's on the ice, you can rest assured that player will be answering to Kane. So I think there's going to be a lot of that kind of role he's going to have to play that we thought we had in Joshua. But, Kane has a history of, being a little tougher when it comes to protecting his teammates.
Mhm. Well, and
So, I'm just, I'm going to be open to it
mhm,
because of the expiring contract and the positives that we've kind of listed. But as someone who has followed hockey for as long as I have and have seen, other players like this through history, the Canucks have taken chances on. I mean, like Rafi Torres came here and was a fan favorite until he, tried to take Marion Hosa's head off
yeah.
and ended up getting suspended for the rest of his life. But, those are players that had a lot of, you know, problems throughout their career, came here, and then once they're here, the fan base realizes, oh, if we just separate that and focus on the hockey,
Mhm.
these guys are hockey players, right? So if they're gonna focus on playing hockey and win, the fans are going to overlook a lot of the cons and the negatives. But in this market, the second it goes sideways, those are high risks to get that it will put a lot of heat on the team
So I guess the
and
last
just
the last thing that I would say is why is this a good thing? Because if you and we made the comparison of would you trade Podkolzin for Evander Kane? But what it comes down to it, make the comparison, and this is the way I'm kind of picturing in my head now. Is if you're to take it's Kane versus Besser, right? Besser would have cost you $8 million, probably would have signed him for 5 more years. But you're getting a guy who, and we've talked about it, Evander Kane and Brock Besser both have injury issues, right? Well, what's the difference between Evander Kane and Brock Besser? Evander Kane and Brock Besser actually score at a very similar rate. They have pretty much the same ceiling when it comes to goal scoring. The difference being is that Evander Kane is way bigger and way stronger and way meaner. And what do we say about why the Canucks had hard time last year? They need to be bigger, stronger, meaner. And if you were to just straight trade, and it's not a straight trade, obviously, but at the cap hit and the quality of the player that you're getting, if we're just talking about strictly on ice stuff, I would say that Evander Kane at this point is a better fit for the top 6 for the Vancouver Canucks than Brock Besser. And I never thought as a longtime Canucks fan I would say that, but I'm trying to, like you said, be as positive I can about that. And I think that's really at the end of the day what we have to look at this as is we're replacing a player that is injury prone but score goals and is a little soft with somebody who is injury prone, scores a lot of goals, but is gonna rip your face off if you mess with his teammates.
exactly. And I agree with you 100% on all of that. Um, he does absolutely score at a similar pace to Brock Besser. And you know that Besser is out there on the open market looking to cash in on a $9 million contract somewhere. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, with the cap difference of 5.1 to 9 million, I mean, that is a huge savings. And if, there is that chance that like I said, him and Pedersen really mesh well together and he puts up 40 goals in an 82 game season if he stays healthy. Like that's not out of the realm of possibility because of the skill level that Evander Kane possesses. I mean, this kid did put up 30 goals in his third year as an NHLer. So that first year that they moved to Winnipeg was the year that he had 74 games. I think one of the longer seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Actually, his 2 longest seasons, 74 games played, 75 games played, are both the seasons that he made it to 30 goals. So if he can get the games in, the production is there. Also, was he healthy earlier than the start of the playoffs? Probably. So let's see what happens if he can have a good off season and train and come out and maybe there's something to it, right? Like we've questioned a lot of trades in the past, and some things have been like, whoa, what are these guys doing? And off season last year, a lot of people were like, throwing money at an older guy who's kind of been a career fourth liner in Sherwood a good idea?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, it was Quinn Hughes who kind of pulled that string to get Sherwood signed. So I don't know. Maybe they are doing the right things by listening to Hughes. When it comes to on ice personnel,
Mhm.
listening to the captain about the off ice personnel could come to bite them.
Okay, we're moving on. We've talked about why it's bad. We've talked about why it's good. We tried hard to talk about why it's good. It did veer back over to bad sometimes, but we did. I think we got some positives out there. So the next thing I wanted to do is obviously the memes went crazy on Canucks Reddit today. So I want to show you 3 different memes, and you're going to tell me of the 3 memes, what is your favorite one? So we're going to start off. This is the classic one here. And so I'll show this. Enjoying the Calder Cup win, walking by, and the guy's like, hey. And then his friend steps in. He's like, Evander Kane trade and giving the Oilers cap relief. Okay. So that's classic, right? Pretty good.
Yep.
Number 2, the classic slapping this this magical tape on it. The Canucks bad team culture and toxic locker room. Boom! Evander Kane slap on the side of the tape. Right? Pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good. All right. The third meme here. Well, it didn't work. It didn't work out for those people. No, it never does. I mean, these people somehow delude themselves into thinking it might, but it might just work for us.
Yep.
What do you think of those 3 memes? What's your favorite of the 3?
Oh, the Flex Seal one is perfect because it is such a Band-Aid move, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's such a Band-Aid move. And then another one I saw that's super current is the clip that they've cut Donald Trump, the end of him talking about Israel and Iran and not knowing what they're doing.
Yeah.
And it's like the Canucks front office. Why did the Canucks front office trade for Evander Kane? Because they don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Swear jar.
Swear jar, but so worth it. I mean, it was so bang on.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, so those are the memes. I think my favorite is the I really am a huge Arrested Development fan, so I think that one where I think that's me today, where I am Tobias and I'm trying to delude myself into thinking that this is a good move for the Vancouver Canucks. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. So we want to talk a little bit too about the ramifications for the Canucks salary cap, because obviously that changes everything for the Canucks salary cap when it comes into what they're going to have moving into July 1. So I'll pull this up again here for everyone. So as of the signing of or getting Evander Kane on the trade, the Canucks now have just over $7 million in cap space left to sign for next year. If we look at the roster breakdown, he is now sitting as the 3rd highest paid player on the Canucks, behind Jake DeBrusk and Elias Pettersson, and won't be only on the roster for the 1 year, so he is a UFA next year. So that's good to see. Do you think there's still a chance they get to re-sign Mr. Pius Suter, who you see right here, who might be available still to the Canucks? With the $7 million in cap space, do you think there's still a chance Pius Suter ends up ending up on the Canucks roster?
Man, hard to say. That's a tough one. They may have just let that ship sail by making this move, or they are going to spend the majority of that money on keeping Pius Suter here. That remains to be seen. We obviously have a lot of potential money we could move out of on the blue line if we can get guys to waive a no trade clause or something. We do have an embarrassment of riches down there on the back end. We do have Thatcher Demko on an expiring contract, and given the season that Shilov's had, and the way that Kevin Lankinen was able to carry the team as a full-time starting goalie last year, do we go that road and shed the $5 million that Demko carries maybe at the draft? I don't know. There's a lot of questions now given with this Evander Kane move. But you're right. The one thing it does confirm is that Besser's gone.
Yeah, I think for me, I think the Canucks with the 7 million and obviously needing changes in the crease because without how Shelov's now has 2 MVPs under his belt. He's got the MVP of the World Championship. They didn't even play in the gold medal game. Faced more shots in that tournament than anyone ever had. And then the Calder Cup playoffs again. MVP, winning the Calder Cup, bringing it home. This is a guy that the Canucks cannot afford to get rid of. So I think you're right. I think the Canucks might be looking to move off on one of their goaltenders, and I think that might be Thatcher Demko. But I think at the end of the day, what it comes down to for that is who is going to give us the best package.
Giggity.
Before we get into the last talking point, bye-bye Manny, which is got a question mark there too. Evander Kane 91 became a member. So thank you very much, Evander Kane 91. The 5th time you've become a member here on Nothing is Perfect. So we appreciate the support here and donating to Dobby's College Education Fund. So shout out to Evander Kane 91. Oh, and then Vander Kane 91 gives the thumbs up too to donate another $2. So we're getting a double dono here from Evander Kane. So thank you very much for that. Give me the thumbs up there. Okay, not to get too dark on us here to end things off, but Dustin Boydell, hearing rumors about Manny, and what is the rumor that you heard?
Hearing from multiple sources and also talked about already by one Rick Dollywall live. Dallas Stars will be looking to seek permission to speak to Manny Malhotra for their open head coaching position. I'm not going to lie to you. If Manny Malhotra gets hired by the Dallas Stars, that is the fireable offense for Patrick Allvin. To make the rush decision and hire Foote before Manny's Calder Cup run was complete was a complete snap decision under pressure from the opinion of one roster player. It's a big risk, given that Foote has far less professional coaching experience than Manny Malhotra. And the knock was they didn't want to go with a rookie guy and then ended up going with a rookie guy. And now you will have extreme egg on your face if you let the Calder Cup winning rookie head coach in the AHL end up in another organization. And I won't even sugarcoat it. If the Dallas Stars sign Manny Malhotra as their head coach, they will become a huge Stanley Cup favorite right away.
Let's hope that doesn't come to fruition. I still hope, and I'm still praying to the hockey gods that 1 year option that the Canucks and Manny Malhotra have for next year in Abbotsford will be used. I think part of me is positive that Manny will stay because of his experience with all these guys. Is really close with that team. Seems like a really tight-knit group from the players all the way up to Ryan Johnson as the GM. So maybe Manny Malhotra will want to run it back, and hopefully won't lose him again, because for all those who don't remember, Manny Malhotra was an assistant coach for the Vancouver Canucks, and we lost him when he went over to Toronto. So let's hope that his love for the organization and the team, and hoping to maybe go back-to-back Calder Cup, maybe that could be another feather to put in his cap.
And then the other side of it is the frustration that this potentially burns a bridge if you deny the Dallas Stars the ability to talk to him and you prevent him from moving on to being a head coach when he feels he's ready. Then you end up with a disgruntled coach in the AHL who maybe won't be giving you his best next season. So there's so many things that Allvin kind of put himself behind the 8 ball when he hired Foote. Because now the pressure from the fan base is going to be unreal after what happened in Abbotsford, and it's just there's so much that one thing is the big bad move that I am going to hang on Allvin for a long time if this happens, because all the player moves and everything aside, losing the quality of coach that Manny Malhotra is and will be at the NHL level is just inexcusable. It's a worse offense than losing Quinn Hughes in a couple years as a free agent, because hockey players come and go. There's 23 of them. You can build a team around anybody, and you will find another star defenseman. Like, it's not like defensemen don't move around the league. Look at Erik Karlsson's career.
Mhm.
He's gone all over the place. Like, it's not. Yes, we've never had someone like Quinn Hughes, and we want to have him for the rest of his career, but we can't get pigeonholed into thinking that's the be all end all of winning a Stanley Cup. Having a head coach that can take those 23 guys and put them together and have them focus on a common goal, the way Manny did in the AHL with the Abbotsford Canucks, being undefeated after a loss throughout the whole entire playoffs, never losing 2 in a row through an entire playoff run, playing more games than any other team in the playoffs. You have to reward that. And his reward at the end of this run should have been the head coaching position in the NHL. And that should have been a discussion that came right from head office that said, Quinn, we appreciate your opinion, and absolutely, we agree. Adam is a tremendous coach, and we like that you have a great relationship with him, but we're watching closely what's going on in Abbotsford, and we think that Manny will be the guy that can bring this entire club together to push us to the winning culture that we need. And that should have been the conversation. Not, yes, sir, Mr. Hughes, will hire Mr. Foote right away. Because I feel like that is what happened, and now it's going to... I mean, I'm on eggshells going into next season. Just because of all of it, right? Like, because of what I witnessed in Abbotsford, it's like, oh man, these fans are going to they will be calling for Alvin's head in the first 20 games if the Canucks don't go 15-5.
All right.
Sorry, guys.
Well,
I love the Canucks, but this front office is just throwing me for a loop today.
Yeah. Well, all I know is that whatever happens, we'll be here to cover it for you, because on the Rusty and Dusty Side Show, that's what we're here for, our first official off-season stream that we did. So thank you very much, Dustin, for taking the time out of your day. I know you got to run to go pick up the kid pretty quick here. Is there anything you wanted to say to chat before I let you go for the day?
Calvin, you're right. Franchise defensemen don't grow on trees, but we did have one prior to Quinn Hughes. He unfortunately lost his life in an untimely motorcycle accident.
Mm-hmm.
But they do come around from time to time. It's not like he will potentially be the last one. It's just a scary thought as an organization who's never really had one. But yeah, I would do everything in my power to try and make him happy to an extent. Like, winning a Stanley Cup and telling him with this coach, we will win one, is something that should have happened. And I just don't think that conversation did. And I think they were a little bit scared and sheepish in the sense that, like, if we don't do everything he asks, he's gone. But I mean, if they do everything he asks and we're a horrible team and we don't make the playoffs, he's gone anyways.
Yeah.
So at some point you got to sack up and make the proper hockey operations decisions. And oh boy, this offseason so far has not been a shining time for Alvin and company.
All right, I've decided, Dustin. I'm happy about the trade. I'm happy that we have Evander Kane. You get to be the guy who hates it. I'm going to be the guy who loves it, and we'll have one half of Rusty and Dusty on the anti-Kane side, and then I'll be on the positive Kane side, because I after our talk today, I feel a little better about it, and I think I'm excited as to what a Vancouver kid. And we're always talking about that, having a Vancouver native coming back and wanting to play in their hometown. So for me, with his side, his strength, and the ability to score goals at quite a high level at the NHL, I think I'm now on the I'm excited about Evander Kane as the Vancouver Canucks train.
And absolutely, I will be the other side of that coin, because you know what? I'm optimistic, but his leash is about that long. Same with Foote, man. I'm trying to be like, okay, let's be positive here. But with all the rookie staff he hired around him, that's his. And watching Abbotsford from start to finish, like, not just the 24 playoff games, watching the entire regular season and then the playoffs, like, oh man, I saw a coach that I would want any team to to have on my bench.
There's a reason the book is titled this.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, Dustin, thank you very much for joining and enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, and we'll talk again very soon.
Absolutely.
Dustin Boydell, everyone, stopping by for a quick Rusty and Dusty sideshow in this off season, our first episode of Rusty and Dusty off season. Before we go, I am going to get into chat here because I know you guys are saying a lot. So let's quickly go through chat and see what you guys are talking about. I don't know. I just know if Big Buff didn't like him, I don't either. Laugh out loud. And then Barbershop says, pods ain't going nowhere. Dude is a great pickup. Barbershop rubbing it in our face. Drew Richards, very fair and thoughtful take, boys, all around. Thank you very much, Drewski. Drew Richards, king of the mods. Thanks for being here. Kevin K. Canucks don't want to give Besser 8 years, but no problem taking an always injured 33-year-old for over $5 million. Now, remember, Kevin, Brock Besser is pretty injury prone too, but I can see your point. 33, Brock Besser is a little bit younger, but like we talked about, they scored a similar rate, and the advantage that Evander Kane has is he's a bit bigger, a bit stronger, and actually plays really, really well on the power play too. Can play that bumper spot, which the Canucks weren't using. Drew Richards, having watched him in Edmonton, I think he's going to surprise and could be a better fit than everyone thinks. Thanks, Drew. I really tried to laugh out loud. We all want the memes. We want the memes. We want the memes. Yeah. Oh, look at Dave Mensch in chat. Good times, fellas. Giving the AOK $10 dono coming in from Dave Mensch. Thank you very much, brother. I appreciate that. Dono coming in. I don't know if I've seen you in chat before, Dave. So welcome to Nothing is Perfect. As I mentioned, we are going to be live during the off season. I think we're going to be trying to be live every Wednesday. But as well, we are going to be looking at making sure that anytime Canucks news comes out, like today, Evander Kane becoming a member of the Canucks, we're going to be able to jump on and hopefully get some coverage of that for you guys. So welcome to Nothing is Perfect, Dave mentioned. Thank you very much for the $10 dono. Dobby appreciates it. Drew Richards says, my thing for our Nucks is they need for grit. Yeah. And he brings that, says Drew. Barbershop, I don't know why no Canuck fan would be happy with Kane. Wouldn't be happy with Kane. I think it's one of those things, right? We hear all the stories of his off-ice shenanigans, and so that makes it, and we are hurt too, Barbershop. You have to remember, we had one of the worst locker rooms in the entire league, and maybe one of the worst locker rooms in the history of the NHL last year. So to have somebody who even has a whisper of that kind of negativity coming in was really scary for Canucks fans. But as some of the media have been saying out there, Drewski, yourself, the Vancouver Canucks fans are going to see him in a Canucks uniform, and if he goes out and hits some people and scores some goals, it's not going to take long for him to get into the hearts of the Canucks, I think. Besser doesn't hit. I'm happy we get someone who hits. Yeah, fair enough, right, Calvin? Manny leaves. He doesn't love his son. Laugh out loud. Yeah, Manny Malhotra is playing out. His son's playing out in Chilliwack right now, so... Woodlake, not happy with Canucks management. EP40 sucks, so Woodlake does not like EP40 either. I'd take Kane over Besser any of the day of the week. So Barbershop, our resident troll, is saying that he would take Kane over Besser. Garland was a teacher's pet, and the teacher's gone. Trade him too for a center. No, we can't trade the gargoyle. Calvin 99 Charlie. He was the teacher's pet. I think Tockett was his father, right? Pure Veteran 1 announce Hughes to New Jersey. No, we are not doing that today. No, but if it does happen, we will be here to talk about it. Canucks have no chance with EP40. So Woodlake is like, we need to get rid of EP42. Kevin K, I think Besser shows 100% heart in the game, big games. Kane is a 20-goal average guy. Besser is 30. Okay, so we are giving up a bit of goals there. But it's one of those things, right? If you can have Evander Kane clearing out some space for EP40, maybe he is a bit of a better season. Aiden Kelly, barbershop window. It's just we know as Canucks fan, anything can blow up in our face, and that happens to us all the time. All the time. Kevin K, you guys are wrong about the goals comparison. Okay, so yeah. So if Evander Kane's averaging about 20 goals per game, and Brock Besser averages 30 goals per season. Sorry, not 20 goals a game. 20 goals a season, 30 goals a season. In the entire career of Patrick Kane, he has scored 326 goals in 930 games. And then if we bring up Brock Besser, he has played 554 games and he has 204 goals. So he's about just below 0.45 goals per game for Brock Besser. And then Evander Kane is about 0.3. So yeah, your numbers are pretty accurate there, Kevin K, I'd say. So you're probably shaving about 10-15% of goals off. David Mensch, Brock busted Besser. Ship him out. Yep. Yeah, he does get hurt a lot. Memes. 30 goals once. Besser had 40 goals once. Yep. Drew Richards, one more thing. For Kane to perform the way he did in the first round after missing the season suggests to me that he's in good shape and ready to go. Florida made everyone look bad. Laugh out loud. Yeah, that is true. And that is the common consensus is Evander Kane is a man who shows up in shape. He's not a guy who shows up not ready to play. So that should be a good sign. Drew, that's a good point. Sensei Dean Y. I'm hoping he can get to a new level, but he's going to be the turmoiler. I'm not sure this team / fan base can take this. Hopefully he can elevate. Yeah. And then Knopf says coaching staff need to stop this guy from getting rage baited on the ice. Yep. Knopf, you're very right about that. And we saw that a bit with Sammy Blais in the Abbotsford Canucks playoffs. And just hockey. I mean, I was one of those guys. When I was playing in my younger years, I got crazy. So yeah, definitely Knopf, you make a good point. Welcome to the stream. Definitely need to prevent him from losing his cool and taking dumb penalties. So funny, says Zach McNally. Wood Lake is like, yup. And then McNally, Zach, Leafs fan, is like, swear jar. And then Calvin99 Charlie says, too bad Kane couldn't play center. I mean, I think I really like the idea of him playing with PD. Because a lot of the time, PD played very well when he was playing with a guy like JT Miller, who is a physical presence. So if you can have a physical presence on the wing, that would be great. Oh, I did want to read too, you guys. My friend Chris Vogel texted me earlier, and I wanted to read his text to you. So he said, maybe he's playing chess and the others are playing Charlotte. See what I did there? A little Calder Cup pun. I'm positive bringing in Kane gets you a better draft pick next year. And probably can flip him at the deadline. This would be a smart move if you're trading Hughes. If you're not trading Hughes, WTF are you doing? You have DeBrusk and Joshua on the left side, so redundant. You'd kick Miller to the curb because of the room, and then you add arguably the biggest room cancer in the league. I'm getting madder the more I type. So my friend Chris Vogel, who's a season tickets holder, we played hockey together for years too, sending his thoughts too. DWH, Besser never dropped his gloves in a scrum, let alone fight. Even Gretzky fought. True. Latvia and Messi, Canucks are going to win the next 10 Stanley Cups. Trust me! Latvia and Messi, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. And DWH too. Haven't seen you guys before. Latvia and Messi, are you actually watching from Latvia? Did you find us because of Archer she loves? And I'm saying it right now. The Vancouver Canucks will win the cup next year. I've been saying that since before the playoffs started this year. The Vancouver Canucks are going to win the Stanley Cup next year. Wood Lake, the Canucks management absolutely don't know what the fuck they're doing. True. Swear jar. Sensei Dean Y. They didn't learn from Vinny D. However, it could have been worse. They could have gotten Nurse. That is very true. Laugh out loud. Yeah, Nurse is part of the core 4 in Edmonton, so that's a little scary. Dave Mensch, dump Demko, bring up Artie, and go with Lankinen. I think I might be on the same page as you, Dave, on that one. Kevin K, the Trump, because they don't know what the fuck they're doing, is the best meme. Fair enough. Go Canucks, go, says Rod. Welcome back, Rod. Nice to see you. No trading to Edmonton anymore. Fair enough, Rod. I don't know why we're dealing with our enemies. Dijon Mustard in the chat. What's up, Dijon Mustard? Go Canucks, go! Dave Murch, brutal. Kevin K, Garland and Joshua to Min for Rossi. $3 million extra, then Demko and Hronek to Ducks for McTavish, then extend Besser. Ooh, Kevin K's got like the whole thing out. He's got the whole board of what he wants to do, Kevin K. Garland and Joshua for Rossi. Giving up a lot of size there too with Joshua, though. Agreed. Big Hog agrees with your trade. Dave Mensch says, I think Manny didn't get the job because of the defense coach they grabbed. Diener is USA coach. Yeah. Hughes loves Dean. Yeah. I think Dean is going to be a really good addition to the the Vancouver Canucks coaching staff. But the other two guys they hired were kind of rookies. I think Manny wasn't bald enough. Laugh out loud. Maybe he wasn't bald enough. And then Kevin K says Manny made Horvat into a face-off wizard, and now Ratu, Sasson, and Mueller have all been mentored. Yeah, you're very right. Manny Malhotra, one of the best face-off guys in the history of the NHL. He will get in Chell with Dallas. Drew Richards. Great segment, guys. More of this all off season, please. You're very welcome, Drew. Nice to see you. Boo Kane, says Andrew. Andrew shows up and just like, boo Kane, shaking his fists. Breaking. Dallas just requested to talk to Manny. Yeah, pure veteran. Absolutely. Canucks hockey, baby. Are you not entertained? Bring back Nuge. Yeah, another local boy, says Dijon Mustard. Andrew, I don't love it, but I don't hate it, honestly. Yeah, I'm kind of in the same mood as you right now, Andrew. Calvin 99 Charlie, we trade Garland next for a center, please. I don't want to give up Garland for Nuge, says Dijon Mustard. We don't want to give Garland to Edmonton. Terry in the chat. Why? Just why do it? So Terry, I'm assuming you're not a fan. You're not a fan. Calvin 99 Charlie says W. Rusty and Dusty, Rusty and Dusty, Rusty and Dusty. And then Zach Medali, like it's 4:21 afternoon in the Toronto. There's the $10 dono from Dave Mensch. Thank you very much again. 1 minute too early, Zach. Laugh out loud. Learn the rules. Laugh out loud. Laughing and crying dead. Needs an attitude check. Too late. Damn it. Yeah. Russ, if they make another trade while you get off live, will you go live again? Can you imagine? Yeah, they make another trade and we have to go live again. 100% Russ. Knopf. He kind of gave Florida some free leads during the finals. Yeah, he was the worst player in the finals, which is absolutely crazy. We brought this up earlier. The Evander Kane was ranked as the worst player in the Stanley Cup Finals, which you can't see because it's blocked there. Let's make it bigger for you here. You can see right here at the bottom, ranked is the worst player in the worst forward in the entire Stanley Cup Finals this year. Back to the bar. Dijon Mustard. Evander is just your regular East fan kid. Hard to like, but you would love to have him on your side. Fair enough, Dijon. And that's kind of what we talked about earlier, too. Sometimes those are the guys that you need, right? The guys that you hate to play against are the ones that you want to play with. Kevin K, instead of Kane, why didn't they just get Zach McEwen for a $1 million cap hit? I mean, Zach McEwen doesn't bring the same experience that Evander Kane does. So I think that's probably why. Dave Mensch, I was here in the beginning of the year, beginning when you showed the preseason since your first week, I think. Very cool, Dave Mensch. I didn't know you were here that long. You're not in chat enough, or did you change your name? Per game? 20 goals per game, I know, right? No, it's like 0.3 goals per game for Evander Kane and about 0.4 for Besser, I think. Damn, Uno, laugh out loud. Bo and Byram. We could, yo. Yeah. Get another Vancouver Giant back on the roster. Russ, in my franchise mode, not that it matters. PD has 76 points in 40 games, laugh out loud. That might be a good sign then. Now you're proposing a trade. I traded Garland a 6th for Prague, 4th from the Isles, and then I traded the 4th for Reinstrom and a 3rd, laugh out loud. Making moves, Calvin99 Charlie. Kane is home with his family. Yep. I farted, said Tor. I want to do it with the Austin Powers fat bastards voice. I farted. Dave Mensch, I believe he will kill it for us. Fair enough. I like the sounds of that. Riley Fraser, imagine how many hits Sherwood and Kane could have on the same line. Yep. You going to do championship celebration on Thursday? Going to the champion. No, pure veteran. They did it at 5:30 in the afternoon. The door's open. I won't be able to make it out. I have to work my shift tomorrow, unfortunately. Woody and Kaner. Epic. Need more Vancouver boys. Bedard, crying. Yeah, can you imagine? Celebrating. Worst player going to the worst franchise is fitting. So Tor, not a Canucks fan, I'm hearing. Nick, bro, the most goals Zach McEwen had was 5 goals. Why even compare that to Evander Kane when he gets 20 goals? True, Nick. Yeah, like I said, not as much experience. And then Milosh shows up and says, good afternoon, Russ. Good afternoon, Milosh. Nice to see you. Thanks for stopping by. But we are about to finish up here. So, Evander Kane, now a member of the Vancouver Canucks, announced today, 91. He's already been transferred over to the Canucks website here. Not great numbers when it came to the Stanley Cup Finals, but he does have a lot of experience. 326 goals scored in this league. He is 6'2", 218 pounds, 33 years old, Vancouver native, and asked to be traded to the Canucks when it became apparent that they weren't be able to stay in Edmonton. So I was wondering how you was going to do these trades. Now I can't wait for the next Rusty and Dusty. Yeah. Yeah. Back to the bar. Okay, kids, thank you for being here this afternoon. It's the first time we've done this sort of impromptu stream for the off season, but that's kind of the plan moving forward, is that when Canucks news happens, we will be here and we will be open. So if you are watching and you haven't hit the subscribe button, I should ask you that. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We appreciate you all being here. Yeah, I'm going to read this one too before we go. Do you know that Aquilini is tied for 31st place for best owner? Yep. AKA worst owner. And Riley got his tickets. I'm a Canucks fan. I have been cursed by them to suffer eternally. Okay, so you are. Tor is a Canucks fan. That's so funny. Oh, yeah. I mean, I talk about the Canucks like that too sometimes. That's so funny, Tor. You are a Canucks fan, but we have been suffering for a very long time. We now have the Timu Panthers. Dave Mensch, I live in Newfoundland, so time difference sucks. Yeah, fair enough. Dave, you and Big Hog will have to get together sometime because he lives over all the way over there. So it's already like late in the afternoon for you, Dave. But I appreciate the dono and I appreciate you being here. And I appreciate you being here since the very beginning. And then AJ Dulis is absolute effing joke. Shit analytics, shit person, injury prone, hasn't played a full season in years, has never actually played a full season. And Demko's cap hit is going towards him. Embarrassing. And then Tyrone states, self-deprecating Canucks fan is a real Canucks fan. Yep, true enough. Tyrone is crying. Knopf is like at Tor, literally crying. One love all. Sup, y'all? This is Dave DeVilliers. Very, very cool. Dave DeVilliers watching all the way from South Africa. I think this trade could work out really well for the Canucks. They needed a forward who can log top 6 minutes. True. And then Kevin Gay says 5 million, 5 goals at 1 million is better than 20 at 5 million. Do the math. I did the maths. No. I think the doors open at 5:30. Let's have a look for you. Get that information for you. The Abbotsford Canucks bring the Calder Cup home. Doors open at 5:30. Yeah, so the doors open at 5:30, and then things get started at 6:30. So, as you can see here, 5:30 start. Doors open. So, You only have to, the doors open at 5:30, and then the things get started at 6:30 tomorrow night. So if you are interested, there is going to be a celebration out in Abbotsford. If you're in the area, $5 are tickets. You're going to be able to go out and see the Calder Cup in person as the Abbey Canucks celebrate at the Abbey Center all the way out there in Abbotsford. Cool. All right, guys, we're going to call it there. I want to thank everyone for being here today. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you very much, Dustin, for taking the time out of your afternoon to get over here. And thank you, everyone here who watched it today. We will be live a lot of the time. Anytime that happens, train on the tracks. Now we give you guys the 4th pick back for Garland. No, train on the tracks. We got Edmonton fans in here. Maybe we'll give you Demko for McDavid. How about that? Okay. On that note, we're going to call it there. Thank you, everyone, very much for being here. And until next time, remember, this is Nothing is Perfect. Or sorry, my name is Russell Holiday. This is Nothing is Perfect. And make sure that you make good choices.